Michelle, your son's heavily embroiled in the whole experience now, and it's not necessarily a picnic for him.
It's not. AJ was diagnosed with dyslexia a year and a half ago. And, you know, from that kind of moment where we found out, like, the label, he's kind of took it in a couple of ways. He's embraced it, but then he is uncertain about it. And I think we're kind of navigating that at the moment. So he sits in a different room than his peers, and he's in a room with a scriber, and he gets a 15-minute little breather. And he's asked me at the beginning of the week, can he go into the hall with his friends, because he feels really isolated. And obviously, I know that this is beneficial for him, and we're very lucky that we got diagnosed so quickly. But it was really hard to tell my 11-year-old why he has to be segregated, and he's navigating that while taking exams that are very young to be taking exams.
So he's 7?
Yeah, no, he's 11.
Oh, he's 11.
Yeah,
and you feel he's too young to be taking?
I feel like some kids are too young. Like when Faith did her SAT, same age, 11, absolutely fine, no problem, grown up enough, astute enough. Yeah. But with AJ, I don't know, I just feel like he's a whole different 11-year-old, just too much for him.
All right, well, Bobby, you're a teacher, so you're, you know, and obviously super successful at exams yourself. How do you feel exams feature as a way of actually separating the academic from the less academic, the intellectually gifted from the less gifted? Do you think they're a serviceable vehicle, a tool for doing that?
So I'll be honest, I'm quite torn, because I've been now a teacher in secondary and sixth form for about 10 years, and then in the last year in a local primary school. And I find that exams, you always come back to what's the purpose. Sometimes it's like a stage post, like, but before children move on to the next step, you sort of assess where they are. Other times it can be for external organisations, universities, colleges, employers, to see whether a young person has got the sort of qualifications and skills to be employed or taken onto university. But I do feel as if in our country we over-examine. Like if you look at compared to the global picture, how many exams, like 25 to 30 for GCSE, again, exams at 11 years old. Again, yesterday, I was giving a little pep talk to our year sixes before their, was it mental arithmetic and reasoning test. And some of the kids were fine about it, but other kids were like, oh, so this is a big day. So I think it's that trying to find a balance between where we can examine children so we can assess their knowledge and they can sort of take on the next pathway, but not putting so much on them that it sort of devalues the point of education itself.
And how do you feel about it, Belinda?
I love exams. As a parent, I'm so grateful. Test them as much as you can, exam away, because for me, I want tough, strong, resilient children that can work under pressure in the outside world, that can get motivated to learn and then perform under timed pressure, which again, you get outside the outside world. My 15-year-old is doing her maths GCSE right now as I speak.
Non-calculator paper one.
Yeah,
it's fine.
So
and they're both in maths this morning.
So honestly, three guests, all of whom have children taking exams right now, and one teacher.
Yes.
So we're in the absolute throes of this.
And coping mechanisms.
Right.
This is the thing that's missing. You know, children need to learn to be tough and deal with stress. We cannot mollycoddle them and say that, you know, anxiety and stress through exams means they don't, you know, they shouldn't have as many exams.
Right, let's talk to Jenny about this. This is your book, The Disengaged Teen, and I'm glad to have it here to show. But tell me about whether you think exams are a worthwhile tool, or whether so many kids are kind of, before they've even started, at such a disadvantage.
Well, I agree with some of what everyone's saying here, but I'm going to dice it a little bit differently. I think knowledge is incredibly important in a curriculum. I think exams are a phenomenal tool to test knowledge and to consolidate knowledge and to motivate kids, as you say. The UK has the dosage all wrong. It is too much. 26 exams over 6 weeks to test 3 years worth of curriculum. That's a memory exercise, not a learning one. The OCR, one of the top awarding bodies in this country, just came out with a report saying, too much. It's too much. We're doing too much memorizing and not enough learning. So I think that's what we need to get right. We do need to do testing. It needs to be spread out over more time. It can be a mastery-based system. There are a lot of ways to adapt this. No country tests quite like the UK. So there are other ways to do it.
If we have children who we know are struggling with the thought of the exam, or will literally struggle in the exam, it won't, they probably know it's not going to show them at their best light.
Absolutely.
However, we've got no option, just as Michelle's little AJ
We're all in
go
it.
through it. You know, they've got to take the exam.
Yeah.
How do you advise kind of, you know, shoring them up through the whole process?
Absolutely. And I love the mollycoddling. This is an opportunity to help them build resilience. So I'd say 2 things. Number 1 is reframe the stress. Stress is your body preparing to do something important. If you feel stressed, it's not a negative signal always. It doesn't mean that you're failing or unprepared. It means you care. The racing heart, the sweaty palms, That is literally your body gearing up to do something important. So let them know that that's not necessarily a negative signal. Is it unmanageable or is it manageable? Let's make it manageable. Let's help them with that. Number two, we kind of have to get out of the way a little bit, right? So you can say to them, do you need from me help? Do you want a hug? Or do you want to be heard? I had my daughter come back from one of her exams the other day. She was furious. She just needed to offload. She didn't need me to fix anything. She didn't.
Well, you couldn't fix it
definitely
anyway,
didn't
could
want
you?
my opinion.
No.
She wanted no part of my opinion, but she wanted to be heard. I wanted to give her a hug. I'm not necessarily sure that she wanted the hug, but you can ask them that question because I think sometimes we want to fix it for them and we can't. They have to take the exams. This is the system we're in. They're going to have to take them. So reframe the stress and then help them identify what they need.
Right, let's go to the phones. Janet's on the line in Devon. Her daughter's going through GCSEs right now. Janet, you're experiencing it as just too many exams for one girl. Janet.
Oh, absolutely, Vanessa. I
Yeah.
think I'm on Bobby's side, not Belinda's here. 3 exams for maths, 1 non-calculator, 2 calculators. Why is that necessary? Also, I had an oldest daughter go through GCSE exams a number of years back, and I've noticed that the standards have changed. So, for instance, my oldest daughter was allowed to take a clean copy of the English literature book into her exam, and now my daughter has to memorise all of the quotes. Again, why is that necessary?
And do you feel your daughter's level and performance is going to be adequately reflected by the result, or do you feel that they won't really shine in an exam environment?
Well, my youngest daughter, bless her, she cares, and I love that has been brought up in the conversation already. And as a result, because she cares, she gets very stressed. I mean, in one of her mock exams, she actually fainted.
Oh, no.
It was that stressful for her, and it was in a topic that she's good at. So again, that was reflected that she.
I know
couldn't
Bobby
get the
wants to
best
respond
mark
to that.
she could.
Let's hear from Bobby because he's the teacher.
Yes, actually, on your point about the exams, I know that children today across the country are doing their maths paper 1, non-calculator, and they've got 2 more papers after half term. So 3 exam papers, 4.5 hours. And OCR, in fact, the exam board you're referring to, Jenny, earlier, they've in fact come out and said that you can probably tell the result of a child by 1 paper. We don't need a 2nd or 3rd additional. So I think in this country, we've got like paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, papers, too many papers. I think we could, if there were smarter exams, 1 exam rather than spreading out over 6 periods. So again, the 26, 30 exams, we're just far too exams.
But isn't it also true that people will say, spread it thinner, so I've got a broader chance of doing well, and if I didn't do well on Mondays, I might do better on Thursdays, and thank God there's another one.
The 2nd and 3rd papers, because when she comes back and she goes, I was so nervous, it was my first one, but it's okay, I can make it up on
Well,
the
exactly.
2nd.
Don't we want more
you
exams
feel
rather than
different
fewer
every
exams?
day. Like on Monday, AJ was actually quite excited and quite calm after that conversation. And I love what you said, Jenny. I will really take that on board because all I want to do is hug them. Right? You just want to hug them.
Yeah, but fat lot of good when you hug them.
I
They've got to
know.
write an essay on Winston Churchill and you're just hugging them. A fat lot of use. Let's go to Maria in South Lanarkshire, who was a school teacher. How do you feel about exams, Maria?
Well, personally, Vanessa, I failed my A-levels miserably due to stress. I was very, very ill on the day. And I had to take my A-levels a 2nd time. Now, fortunately for me, I then went on to university and then became a school teacher. Had I been judged purely on that failed A-level, you may, I'm not trying to boast, you may have lost a particularly good school teacher. I think there has to be a more comprehensive way of testing what a child's knowledge is.
Well, did it not used to be called continuous assessment, Maria? So there were projects and there were essays and there were, more informal tests in class and you put them all together and then there was maybe 1 exam, but there were all these other indicators of work throughout the year. Wasn't that a better method, do you think?
Yeah. But I think that exams in and of themselves being so stressful only teachers or allow us to know what that pupil knows on the day and what they can remember under stress. That's not a comprehensive test of what their actual knowledge is.
What would you rather have, Maria? What would be better? What would be better?
coursework throughout their childhood.
Yeah, absolutely. Multiple ways to get in there and assess them on multiple things. We're really
Absolutely.
testing just one thing.
So you feel that would be a calmer,
You need
broader...
multiple entry points to show multiple skills. We are testing a very narrow band of what we are calling knowledge and intelligence. I can promise you that out there in the real world, yes, they need to deal with stress. I couldn't agree with you more on that point, Belinda, but I actually think they're also being asked to collaborate. They're asked to be doing some critical thinking. This isn't critical thinking. This is regurgitation. We need them to be
depends
doing
on the question,
collaborative
though. And
problem
certainly
solving.
in the maths exam today, that's not regurgitation. That's an understanding of what's going on and whether you can get the correct answer or the incorrect answer, right?
Yes, I think, again, with exams, if they're designed well, they can elicit, like, draw out skills.
Exactly.
And again, there's always this big debate about are exams to test knowledge or skills? And again, somewhere in the middle, we need to make sure kids have a basic knowledge, like, again, they're numerate, they're literate, they understand key facts about the world, but they can also think bigger. And again, AI will probably change the way in which exams are.
Yeah.
Gosh,
my
they all
daughter's
memorize the
using
mark
AI
schemes.
now.
They all say, okay, so there's the 16, the 4, the 2, the 1. We need to hit that mark, and this is what we need to do to hit that mark. So, yes, totally agree. There is some critical thinking.
Just tell me in one line or fewer, because you're the teacher and I'd like to be the pupil, how will AI transform exams?
So I think it's more in terms of, again, even looking at things like TikTok and Instagram, young people are quite savvy. They will type into ChatGPT, Gemini, what are the key things I need to get a grade 4 or grade 5? So I think for keen students, it can mean, I think they can accelerate their progress.
Oh, right, okay.